Scout is trustworthy,
loyal, helpful,
friendly,
courteous,
kind,
obedient,
cheerful,
thrifty,
brave,
clean and reverent.
The Scout Law and Oath, truly words to follow. And for hundreds of young men who were and still are members of Troop 254, they're more than just words, they're life. I'm Gary Locke, and before I was the proud governor of Washington State, I was and remain a proud Eagle Scout of 254. Troop 254 is celebrating 100 years as a chartered Boy Scout troop. That's a lot of history and quite a legacy. But to truly understand that legacy, it's important to step back a bit in time and see just how this community, here at the site of the original Chinese Baptist Church, was able to make it all happen 100 years ago.
It's coming out of a time when there was absolute exclusion laws against the Chinese, and certainly the community really had to exist under a begrudging tolerance from the rest of the population. They were not allowed to be citizens, only if they were born here.
In 1923, within this challenging context, the elders of Chinese Baptist Church, located right in the heart of Seattle's Chinatown, determined to charter an American Boy Scout troop. Locke Ing, a church member and American citizen, would be chosen as the first Scoutmaster.
With the introduction of the Boy Scouts, frankly, it was a saving grace.
But soon after, Locke Ing would be called abroad on business, and the troop was again in need of a Scoutmaster. They became aware of a newly arrived young University of Washington student named Willard Jue.
He came here to Seattle as a student. He was recruited to be a Scoutmaster because he had been an Eagle Scout in Portland, Oregon, where he grew up.
Considered at first a temporary assignment because of his young age, Willard would go on to lead the troop for the next 25 years.
Nice to meet you.
Some 90 years later, his grandson Nathaniel returns to visit the old site of Troop 254 and shares stories with some pretty distinguished troop alumni.
The circumstances of me joining the troop, which was the only Chinese troop around, my brother and I both joined, must have been late 40s.
A good friend of mine named Barry Marr joined together at the tender age of 11, 1955.
I was 10 and a half years old in 1959.
It's a lot smaller than I thought it was. You were smaller. Yeah. We met in the basement of the church, and we were in probably 4 patrols. And every week we had inspections, and there were certain things that you had to do in terms of a haircut, shoes, full uniform. We were a troop that wore shorts.
We never wore long pants. It was always shorts.
You know, we saw other troops that wore long pants, and we thought that was kind of odd.
And I think we were the only troop in the whole council that wore shorts, so they knew us because we were kind of different, I guess. And we loved going to the camporees because our troop always did well in the different competitions with the other troops. We had different field events. We built a tower for pioneering.
We constructed about a 10-foot high signal tower, and one guy climbed up to the top and waved a flag. And if I remember correctly, the record was 28 minutes.
We had what was called the afternoon tea event. We had a scout and had to build a fire and then boil a cup of water and make a piece of toast and eat the toast and drink the water. But we excelled in all those kind of strange things.
But nothing was anticipated more for the young scouts of Troop 254 than attending summer camp, often held at beautiful Camp Parsons on the Hood Canal.
Going to summer camp was a very big experience for this city kid. And we wouldn't drive to camp. We all took a boat. We would load onto the Virginia V. It took us 5 hours to get to Camp Parsons.
You know, it would take us forever, but we're a little Chinese kid who's never been out of the neighborhood, more or less. When we got here, it was like, where are we, you know?
It was like being in another world.
Being in another world could also apply to the 1953 National Boy Scout Jamboree held in Southern California that year. Troop 254 sent a select group, and it had a profound effect on all of them.
It was a big thing for us kids to go to the National Jamboree with 50,000 other scouts.
Jamboree.
Also part of that select group was Nathaniel's father, Silas Jue.
These are experiences that he told me sort of shaped his appreciation for seeing the world.
But Silas's contribution to scouting extended far beyond Troop 254. After achieving his Eagle Scout rank and graduating from college, he settled in the San Francisco Bay Area, where he raised Nathaniel and his sister Amanda.
We grew up near Cupertino, which is predominantly new immigrants from Taiwan, and it seemed like the perfect opportunity to bring his experience with 254 to the Bay Area.
Starting with just 13 families and 1 troop, Silas was eventually responsible for the formation of 8 Chinese-American Boy Scout troops, serving literally thousands of families.
His scouting career, it was a very deep and rich experience for him.
By 1961, Troop 254 was already an established part of the community with a great reputation and a roster of alums known throughout the country. That's the year I joined when I was 11 years old and began my own unforgettable scouting journey. For an inner city kid like me, it was just an amazing experience. Camping, hiking, learning to build a fire, and later on becoming a camp counselor during the summertime and active in the Order of the Arrow. For so many of us, the scoutmasters and the adult leaders were like surrogate fathers and uncles. I owe so much to them. But something else happened around then that's pretty unique. It started one regular Tuesday night meeting when a stranger, who was a student at the University of Washington, stopped by.
One of the adult leaders introduced Bruce Lee to the troop. Obviously, nobody knew who he was at the time. He was only 18 years old. And they said, this is Bruce Lee. He's from Hong Kong. He would love to give Kung Fu lessons. Do we have any interest? And 10, 12 of us raised our hands. That is how it began. We were the very first group to get lessons from him. And if I did not see some of the things that he did with my own eyes, I would not have believed what he could do. We were just very impressed. Obviously at that particular time, he was not world renowned as he was shortly after that, but we knew with the abilities that we saw that he was going to be big time.
In 1976, the Chinese Baptist Church moved from its location in Chinatown to its current site here on Beacon Hill. Troop 254 moved as well and continued its great traditions, programs, and activities. But as the 1970s came to a close, Troop 254 would be tested as it had never been before. The troop again found itself lacking adult leadership. Membership plummeted. Without a scoutmaster, the troop risked losing its charter and ceasing to exist. It took a phone call between 2 recently graduated Eagle Scouts from 254 to change everything.
My best friend, Glenn Wong, he just called me out of the blues. At first I thought he was joking, but he goes, hey, there's no leadership. What do you think we start up the troop again? I said, are you kidding me? He goes, no, let's start up the troop. We'll see what happens. I was age 20, he was 21. We were just barely adults. And so here we are, Glenn and I, we had to remind each other, hey, we can't just behave like scouts and do the goofy things scouts do. We have to enforce discipline.
The age difference between my Scoutmaster Glenn and Tim and me was probably about 6-7 years. They were more like a brother than father to me because we had more in common.
So Glenn and I led the trip for many years, and he says, you can take over. I said, I take over? I can't be a Scoutmaster. I don't know what I'm doing. He goes, you've been working alongside with me for now. Just keep going. I don't think we could have hit this milestone without Glenn making that phone call to me. He had a vision to pick up leadership and start up the Scout troop again.
Any institution turning 100 years old, that's worthy of commemoration. But Troop 254 isn't just celebrating its illustrious and glorious past. It's growing and evolving to remain a beacon for our youth for the next 100 years. But still, some traditions carry on.
But I remember your dad, at the end of every meeting, he would always say the prayer in Chinese.
I remember that too. At the end of every meeting, we would gather in a circle, hold hands, and sing a song, and then my father would close with a word of prayer. I love that song that we used to sing.
That's the song that's set to the tune of O Tannenbaum. That one's very vivid in my mind.
Softly falls the light of day.
Softly falls
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
campfire fades
away. Softly falls the light of day as our campfire fades away.
Silently each scout should ask, have I done my daily task? Have I kept my honor bright? Can I guiltlessly tonight? Have I done and have I dared everything to be prepared?
Boy, I just can't believe it's 100 years old. You know, it gives them young people an option.
The troop was founded and created for a reason. And to me, I think the troop's longevity is tied to, some of the things in the Scout law, such as kindness and trustworthiness and reverence. Our ability to really use Scouting to help us become better people. So our troop, 254, to me, I think it really just embodies the American dream.
When Locke started the troop, it just gave a chance for Chinese guys in the community to be in the Boy Scout troop and do things together. Now, our troop is so diverse. It's great that it's not limited to just having Chinese boys. We welcome all that want to participate in our program. Boy, I would like to keep it going. I would like to see it expand.
The legacy of this troop is astonishing. It really shows the culture of Seattle. It shows how the progression of history has always been with good scouting.
I think that becoming an Eagle Scout was one of the top 5 occasions in my whole life. It'll pay off dividends that you won't even appreciate until you're an old man, probably.
No, it was just a lot of fun. We had mutual respect for each other, and we made friendships for life.
I see not as just like friends, we're like a brotherhood, right? That's the whole point. Like, we're like a family here.
Those were good years. Scouting was good years and really good times.